freaking brain is about ready to explode. Oh, anyway. So I got another video already filmed. I'll upload it after this one. And it was kind of like, almost like the last lesson to share from the hero's journey. Because I did the whole thing. I fixed the broken Chris in the past. And it's like, okay, I'm done. Now what? I had to ask. So I'm gonna have to like split up my videos in between like chronicling the where I'm at right now and keeping a regular stream of things for the levels where most people are at and most people are interested in. Because here's my theory, and I have some evidence to support it, but not really. If I just pick apart the things that I've learned from her over the last couple of years, like when she was talking about the lifetimes and stuff like that, and giving me numbers, I'm like, that doesn't add up. She's like, that's because you're thinking of linear time. It's like, within the whole circular scale of time, you finish one lifetime, you reincarnate. Doesn't necessarily have to be in linear order. Meaning if you died in 1973, that doesn't automatically mean you're going to reincarnate as a baby in 1974. You could die in this year and end up in 1967. It's just wonky like that. What really determines like the level of hero's journey that you have is going to be pretty much your birth chart. But all this stuff that, you know, the basic stuff that we talk about on here, like that's going to be universal to everybody. It's going to be universal to everybody. You got to clean out your mind, you got to clean out your system, shut down the adversary voice, which is basically the microphone for your broken, traumatized parts, you know, and get connected to her. That will always be the number one thing that is relevant and important, is connecting to epinoia. Because without your teacher, without your instructor, you're not going to figure anything out whatsoever. So what that means is, theoretically speaking, I mean, we've always kind of known this. It's just a matter of articulating it. We all see different, slightly different versions of the world. We all are wired differently. Why are we wired differently? Because of that. I mean, the astrological stuff has always been interwoven with everything we do, but I never like delved like head first into the subject matter to the level of like my friend Valerie, who's an astrologer, does. Epinoia paired me up with her, obviously for a very specific reason. Like back when we were getting people gathered up last year, she specifically sent me to contact her and reconnect with her, and then do the attunement on her, which she took very easily. So now she can connect, just almost as easily as I can to epinoia, but she has a different body of knowledge, a different body of expertise, and they go together. Why is that? Well, what have I said, in the past? One of the first things that epinoia ever told me before I even knew who she was, before I even knew who was talking, she was like saying things like, empty the cache, think like a computer, you figure things out faster. And eventually I came to know, it's like, yeah, it's all this quantum consciousness, crazy simulation game. The game is so freaking complex. It just got more complex. Great. Yay. Yay for me. Like that's no small feat. Finishing the entire hero's journey. Like, can I like have parade first, like throw some roses at my feet before we're on to the next thing. Son of a bitch. You're killing me. Seriously, you're killing me. But I don't think I have to go too far with it because there is still that master time frame. But if my theories are correct, then there would have to be a split right at the end, because I would then be seeing an ending to the story that you're not ready to see. So we theorized about that before. It's like, what would that look like? Well, that's still same distance away, where we're looking at like somewhere between the third week of July and the first week of August. So somewhere in that time frame, things should get interesting. But I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this because it is interesting. And I did, once I was having a conversation with my friend, because she was looking at my chart. I had her look at my chart. She was looking at what the stars were doing back when this all started for me back in August of 2017. And by looking at that and comparing it to now, she can see like a very clear pattern. And it's just the irony. Like it's always been there. So if you want to know more, don't go away.
I've got a river running right into you. I've got a blood trail red in the blue. Something you say or something you do. A taste of the divine. You got my body, flesh and bone, yeah. The sky above me, earth below. Raise me
So I've always thought it was kind of funny and interesting. You know, she's got a little Facebook page, Astro Snacks, where she posts like, you know, astrology-based things for each day. And it's crazy how much they line up with what's going on with me. But she was looking at my chart and just like, oh, I'm seeing something around this time and around this time and this, that, and oh, this is crazy because this is doing this. And it's like exactly what Epinoia already told me. Like the time frames and things like that. And she's like, and then she said something, she's like your chart is, it's like freaking Clash of the Titans. That was Epinoia. She does that. She slips in your language. She slips in your language so other people can make connections. Because Epinoia, not 2 weeks ago, had me watch Clash of the Titans, the remake of Clash of the Titans, and Wrath of the Titans. Why? Because it was relevant. So you gotta learn to be flexible and work with you know, it's kind of best to work with like one framework at a time. This is the same story. The story of this world and how it works. There's only been one story, just told a bunch of different ways, and all these characters or whatnot are called different things. But now, in order to kind of better grasp what I need to see now, she's folding more of that extra stuff into mixing with the Nag Hammadi. Nag Hammadi's not done yet. We just made a connection with it now. But she's been seeding this stuff here last couple weeks with the movies that she puts in front of me. She had me bust out that astrology deck. She led me to all that astrological, that plasma apocalypse stuff, that video, which if you hadn't watched it, you really need to watch it. It's a video called Symbols of an Alien Sky. Just trust me on that. You will find it interesting, and you'll see how many crazy cross connections there are. It basically has to do with, like, you know, why did the sky look different for the ancients? Why were these things so big? They were actually worshiping as gods. They weren't these little pinpoints of light in the sky. A couple theories on that. I think that's the overworld. We're in the underworld. Or it could be, you know, that's the real heaven, and this is the copy of heaven, just like the Nag Hammadi talks about. It's one of those things. But what I was seeing there, what she started to show me when I was watching that video, was like these big planets were just like these big, massive, beautiful orbs of like consciousness or something. Venus was a major player in all those stories, which Venus is pretty much married to her. So, but the Venus and Mars stuff, like, that's huge, with all the ancient symbols. So in all those planets they were talking about are associated with the different Olympian gods and the Roman gods and the planets and this and that and that. It's all these cross connects. It's like, well, that doesn't cross connect with Christianity, because the church tells you don't look at that stuff. That's the devil. It's just like in the government, the internet, anything else. Anytime someone tells you not to look at something, that's the first thing you need to look at. Plain as day. But so I'm talking to my friend, and she's just like, you've got all these squares and all this, like, you have this constant thing of constant struggle. It's like you had this beef with Saturn or something. I forget what all we talked about, but she was describing everything perfectly, and the way she was describing it when she was looking at the big picture was like, yeah, this is like a hero's journey freaking chart. I'm like, that's what I said all this time. I'm like it was in my chart the whole time that all this stuff was going to happen, that I was going to connect to Lumen the way that I did, that I was going to do all that stuff. Why? Because my sun is in Pisces. Pisces is the most mystical freaking of the signs. My moon, that's feminine, is in Pisces. Mercury, which is masculine, it's Hermes, that's in Pisces. Venus, which is also Aphrodite, is in Pisces. Venus and Hermes and Aphrodite make the divine masculine, divine feminine, make the divine hermaphrodite, which is the rebus, which is the two made into one, the sun and the moon. It's all there in my program script. Jupiter is ruled by Jupiter's in Aquarius, and my rising sign is Aquarius. And she was talking about all the Aquarius. She's like, Aquarius is basically like, they're like the weird ones. I'm like, well, there you go. So I'm like a super Pisces, rising sign Aquarius. I am the most mystical, weird person you will ever meet. That's why all this stuff is like, I can see all this stuff and it makes sense to me, but it probably sounds like gobbledygook to most people. You know, Mars, Jupiter in the 12th house. They're ruled by Pisces. My North Node is in the 12th house. That's Pisces. I have 5 masculine signs, 5 feminine signs, 6 mutable signs, 4 air, 4 water, 1 fire, 1 earth. I'm basically freaking fog. I'm mystical fog. That's why everyone's like, what the hell is he talking about? Dude, my chart is nuts. And then the Pisces stuff, I have a stellium, 3 of them. Sun, Moon, and Venus, all Pisces, all first house. Which means divine masculine, divine feminine, and Venus are a core part of my key personality. Venus being Lumen. Mercury is in the 2nd house. My chart is freaking crazy, but why does that matter? What are these things? Now, I'd said before, you look up at the sky, you're looking at the outer operating system of the computer. In your birth chart, and like those stars, when you're born, it is basically like a random personality generator. You're like, oh, here are all these signs, and that's going to kind of govern like how you think and act. That's why astrology works so much. It's so freaking nuts. And if you got like a good astrologer friend, she can actually show you like what the planets are doing when things are going crazy, and it all makes sense. Then you got to look at like, what are the planets? What gods are they related to? What elements are they related to? Like, it all freaking factors into stuff. But going back to like the Gnostic stuff, which is what we've been focused on for the last 2-3 years, they say the planets rule everything because of astrology. Then the god, they worship the planets as the gods. So what was the Greek rule? What was the Greek? What was the Greek word for rulers? Archons. So check this out. This is from the Secret Book of John. Yaldabaoth's world order. World order. Think about that. That doesn't mean like some Nazi fascists, something like that. It's the order of the world. This is the first ruler, the Archon, who took great power from his mother. Then he left her and moved away from the place where he was born. He took control and created for himself other aeons with luminous fire, which still exists. He mated with the mindlessness in him and produced authorities for himself. Now, some of these aren't going to click, but bear with me. The name of the first is Athoth, whose generations call the Reaper. That be Saturn. The second is Harmas, who is the jealous eye. I feel like I should know that one, but I'm not sure. The third is Kalilia Umbri. The fourth is Yabal. The fifth is Adonaios, who is called Sabaoth. That one's important. Why is that one important? So that is one of, we're only halfway through it, that's one of the first 12 Archons, sons of Yaldabaoth, the world creator. The reason why that one's important is because in the Nag Hammadi texts, it talks about how the time that Sophia whooped Yaldabaoth's ass by basically spitting Michael out of her mouth, and then the Archons are watching, and they're like, and the one whose name was Sabaoth was like, oh shit, these chicks just whipped my dad's ass, like maybe I'm on the wrong side here. So he switched sides and he started worshiping Sophia. So Sophia enlightened Sabaoth, and then she moved him up to the 7th heaven, the highest place within here, and put him in charge. So it's kind of fuzzy about the whole timeline in the thing, but the bottom line is, so Yaldabaoth started out as the creator, but then one of his sons got switched sides. Sophia put him in charge, and his other name is Adonaios, Adonai, the Lord. So and Epinoia always kind of said he's like an administrator, like that's his job. He was raised up, but he was given the job of like running the place. But he wasn't the one that created it, and he's not the higher one either. But yeah, so basically the Lord, as Christians know him, not Lord Jesus, but the Lord. I know they play with books and stuff and words, and it confuses people. They call Adonai started out as Sabaoth, who was one of the first 12, but he's also obviously connected to a planet. Now, thankfully, this is the one that got enlightened by Sophia. Why? Ata Gibor Elohim Adonai. O Lord, you are mighty forever. I would suggest being in magic for like at least 15 years before you tattoo things on you. At least he's still like technically on the good team, because he got recruited by Sophia. Anyway, moving on. The 6th is Cain, who generations of people called the Son. The 7th is Abel. The 8th is Abrasine. The 9th is Yobel. The 10th is I can't say these next two. But the 12th is Belias, who is over the depth of the underworld. So the 12th one is Belias, which sounds suspiciously like Belial, who is over the depth of the underworld. And the 12th planet is Pluto, which is also known as Hades, which is known as the underworld. So, once again, the rulers, the planets, the gods, are the Archons, all the same thing. And then it keeps going and becomes more relevant, like this whole system. Yaldabaoth stationed 7 kings, 1 for each sphere of heaven, to reign over the 7 heavens, and 5 to reign over the depths of the abyss. You know, the rest of it isn't relevant. He is wickedness in the mindlessness within him. He said, I am God, and there is no other God besides me, since he did not know from where his own strength had come. The rulers each created 7 powers for themselves, and the powers each created 6 angels, until there were 365 angels. These are the names and the corresponding physiques. I'm going to have to figure these out. The one that interests me most is the 4th is Yao, who has the face of a snake with 7 heads. That symbol comes up a lot. So yeah, this is all relevant. And they always said that the Archons were up there. But now it's kind of like, you know, like she said, she's looking at my chart. She's like, it's like, your stuff looks like Clash of the Titans. What has she brought up lately? She revealed what Medusa was. She had me watching. That's like, and then that, you know, all this stuff, all these moving parts and all this stuff makes me think of the movie Wrath of the Titans, where they go into Tartarus, and Tartarus is supposed to be like the prison that you can't escape, and it's always moving. I'm like, holy crap, that's like the freaking sky. I'm like, so let me get this straight. I literally just beat the freaking Dungeons and Dragons game, like, I don't know what, 3 times, 3 levels? Now you want me to hack the sky? Is that what you're saying? And she's like, well, she was just popping things into my head. So there's a part in the Nag Hammadi where they're asking Jesus something. I forget like what it leads up to. And one of the disciples, might have been Judas, is like, but the rulers rule over us. And he's like, but you will rule over them. So what she's basically insinuating, that with the divine authority stuff unlocked, divine masculine, divine feminine, joined together with the Son Child in the Trinity, divine authority. Okay, authority to do what? You know, he said, I give you power over snakes and scorpions, to tread on snakes and scorpions and all this stuff. I think what she's trying to say, because now she wants me kind of like refreshing on like planetary magic. Like, you see how this lines up with the birth charts and all these other things and this, that, and the other thing, and this is connected to fate. Like this is all in the Nag Hammadi, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless you're putting it, you know, lining it with correspondences. So I think So like my astrologer friend was pointing out the reasons why, some of the reasons why I continue to have problems with certain things. Even though I just like fixed the one big thing, I still have like a sky that is specifically screwing with me because of what my chart is like, because I'm on a hero's journey. So it's like, yeah, that's definitely going to help, healing that past Chris. But then I still have all these other things that are constantly at odds with me, and I'm missing a whole bunch of things that she referenced. But it's kind of like, in magic, lots of people do planetary magic. It's kind of like using the sigils of the planets, and maybe different, like Pentacles of Solomon, which I don't know how to use those. And you do it on specific days of the week, because each week is ruled by a different planet, and then there's different hours of the day. You gotta get online to like figure out like the best time to do your planetary magic for money might be like, I don't know, Thursday, which is Jupiter, whatever hour Jupiter is. It's all this stuff. It's a big freaking algorithm. It's a big freaking computer. It's a big freaking code. It is what it is. Look at it. It's right there. You can see how it works. Clearly it has effect on things. That's what it is. Welcome to the Matrix. We're just using different words to describe different things. This is basically like Tartarus.
If Zeus is captive in the underworld, he's likely being held in the heart of Tartarus. There can't be much time before his life force is completely sapped.
But how do we get to him?
We can't.
Normally, you'd be right, young man. But when I designed this marvel, I included a secret passage, a shortcut, if you will.
You designed Tartarus.
Oh, aye. And built it. Aphrodite, I could not only get you inside, I could give you a guided tour. In order for the prison of Tartarus to be completely impregnable, I built it from the outside in. So I had to leave a passage for myself to get out when the work was done. And this labyrinth is the only way a human can travel through the underworld and get to the heart of Tartarus.
And if we don't, something about the Matrix when it said there was a man born inside who could change the Matrix at his will, or something like that. It's like this. The algorithm above is going to continue to buffer you around unless you exert your divine authority to override it. Because what is within us that comes from the light, I've got the same light in me that the chief ruler has, that he got from his mother. Same mom, but without the corruption stuff. But when you get in alignment with all of it and you clear yourself, then she's insinuating that she wants me to start learning how to do specific manifestation type stuff either using or controlling the planets, like the influences of the planets, mostly like binding down the ones that are getting in the way. And I did some searching, like there's definitely like correlations in the tarot. Some of the things are in the tarot. I'm like, I'm shuffling one of my modern spellcaster decks. I'm like, what's the biggest one you want me to look at that has to do with a and then the card jumped out. And it was death. Which death in that deck's not near me. Death in the modern spellcaster's tarot is more like a classical Grim Reaper, but hanging off of his scythe is like a little planetary symbol for Saturn.
In the common tongue, it says, one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, One ring to bring them all, and in the darkness, find them.
Okay, and that's what Valerie said, was like, you know, I'm constantly butting heads with Saturn as far as getting things done. But anyway, so I was just telling you, like, if you, when you've learned as much of the pertinent stuff of one thing that you need to, she might move you around to other things, because they're all correlated. They're just called different things. We just showed how that stuff, the first Archons in the Yaldabaoth's world order is describing the stars, the planets, the weeks, the days, the months, the years, all has some kind of ruler over it. Like, just tell me how to get some more business. Seriously. You know why? Because, you know, doing work with other people, I'm working on simpler problems than this. You know, helping people clear their traumas, helping people clear their anxieties and depressions, and getting them more attuned to her and stuff like that. But now, with what we're seeing here, you know, I'm going to probably start looking a lot closer at people's charts too. You should at least have an idea of what, you know, what is in your chart. You can go to, like, if you just Google search like free natal chart, I think it's called like Astro Cafe. That's the one. You click on it, you should see something with like a pinkish beige color. You just got to fill out your name, you know, your birthday, and you need the time of birth if you want it to be accurate, and your city and state, and it'll generate your chart that'll have all that information I just had. So a lot of people know what their sun sign is. Hey baby, what's your sign? But you need to know what most of them are. Like, they're relevant. They're relevant. And they'll make a lot of things make sense. They'll make how you see things and the way you think make sense. But yeah, so you should always try to get as far as you can in the game, within reason. But I wouldn't say, I think it makes sense to me. It's like, if you're gonna do like the Crazy Clash, the Titans Hero's Journey, it's probably gonna show up in your chart. You're gonna have some crazy chart like I do. Otherwise, I would say focus on doing as much as you can so you can live your best life, and still learn to a lot of the stuff, like learning to connect more to your upper spiritual side, and so you're not afraid of death and things like that. So you want to go out with the cleanest slate, as happy as possible when you're done. So in case you do get deposited back here, that should line things up so that things are much, much better for you. I don't know. All I know is the next 7 weeks are going to be interesting, because my friend just pretty much confirmed it. She was pinpointing the areas to watch out for things to get really interesting. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of when she told me she was going to light a match or something. But if that's like I really think that we incarnate, we bounce around in the timeline. Like, you might seriously die and end up like you could end up in like 1938 or 1974 or something like that. because time is only relative here. Pop out, you pop back in. When you're out, it's out there, you can just drop in the timeline back here. It doesn't freaking matter. It doesn't have to be in linear sequence. So you just want to focus on doing the best you can, getting your mind as clear as possible, because all that stuff that we've covered up to this point, especially like in the next video on judgment, like not knowing that stuff is going to make things incredibly harder. But yeah, looking at your chart probably can tell you a lot more about like what your strengths and weaknesses are insofar as like assimilating this type of stuff. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for right now. If you want to get in contact with us, energy pendants, consultations, like everyone's got a different goal, everyone's got a different issue or something like that, so we can figure out what things we can do to help you. Sometimes we incorporate readings into it with the cards if Epinoy wants to do that. There's a lot of different things, which our biggest stuff is like the pendants and the oils, but we get into the right space doing a consult or the energy work, I'm basically kind of like scooting over in the seat, and Epinoy is driving a lot more. So just let us know like what you're stuck at, but don't stay stuck in suffering. I know in the earlier days of doing this, like it's kind of like walking through mud. It's like walking through thick snow, just trying to keep going, like I gotta work on this, I gotta work on this. It's like, just do it, just hammer it. Tell somebody that's been through it all, like where you're stuck at. It's like, so someone that actually has the ability to can bust up those blocks and help you, and you can move forward. But sitting around being miserable about things that happened in your life and where you went wrong and what you did wrong, it's like, you can do things about that. Like you don't have to carry it around with you forever. Like there's actions you can take within the system to clear it, to free yourself from it, so it's no longer like affecting you and dragging you down. All right, so that's all we got. Chris and Lumen. See you next time.